Shri Shankara, thank you very much for staying here with us, for coming to us. We're very thankful.
Namaste, Mr. Marco.
Namaste.
I am equally grateful to you for having invited me to your television station. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Dr. Shankara, in the last interview, we ended talking about how this big transformation came into your life as the contact with spirituality grew inside you, as you left one life and opened the door to another one. Sometimes this can be seen as the death of someone and the reborn of someone else.
Yes.
And what other aspects of this transformation came into your life? Have you stood the same teachings? Have you gotten to know other masters? How has this transformation continued? How this experience has flown into your life?
All right. Because I reached beautiful tranquility in my consciousness, and I naturally became very grateful to two masters, the Master Krishnamurti, through whose teachings I got this tranquility by relentless observation of myself, and then to my mentor and philosopher friend and my guru, Sri Bhagavan, who initiated me into this introspective meditation. And I told my master, Sri Bhagavan, once that I have no desire except to polish the shoes of Krishnamurti and to wash his clothes. That was the kind of devotion I had. And I had the same devotion to my master, Sri Bhagavan, because it is through many satsangs with him and through guidance through him that I finally got into this sea of tranquility within myself. And so I felt called upon to enter into the spiritual field, which in India is called dharma, or dharma, which means moral order, or an order in life based on an awareness of the divine and based on self-abnegation. That is, you give up the ego and you give up the little self, and then that order, that new order, is called dharma.
Which is something common to all religions from
absolutely,
India.
Absolutely, that's the essence of all religions. And so entered into that dharma, and I wanted to build a school because I knew that my master Sri Bhagavan, he was very gifted, and but he was not recognized in school, and so I built the school with a strong feeling that what happened to my guru should not happen to other gifted children. That's why I built that school. Honestly, I had no axe to grind, I had no ulterior motives, nothing to gain from it. So I built that school, and because I was so inspired by Krishnamurti, and the awakening of intelligence happened to me, and so the philosophy of that school was the awakening of intelligence, whether to see whether that can happen to other children if you start speaking about it, and if you kind of bring them up in a different way, and then eventually so that you come on the true spiritual path called dharma. We built that school, and in that school we developed, we got a new kind of divine grace in the form of spiritual awakening, and we wanted to share that with the world, and therefore the work was shifted from educational work, which was in the school. Spiritual educational work took another turn, and then it had to become spiritual work for the welfare of the world. So here again was another transition, one chapter closing down and a new chapter beginning, constantly learning. Learning is the thing which is like a common denominator in all the chapters of life, constant learning.
And how is your relation? We talked a lot about Krishnamurti, and how's your relation with Sri Bhagavan? What does he mean to you, and does he still follow you in your heart? You still follow him?
Of course, I am ever grateful to him, because in my younger years he initiated me into the spiritual life, and for which I will always be grateful to him. But as I started to do his work, and is a work which we both jointly began, and as I started to do the work, I found that he was the master, so he was taking the important decisions, and the decisions he was taking and the direction he was giving the spiritual movement, that direction was not in tune with what I was feeling inside. And so at one point I had to kind of decide whether I will be a hypocrite and go with my master, because my master has given a certain direction to the spiritual movement, and then go on serving him, or whether I will decide to take a break from my master's path and then once more turn inward, as happened when I went to Bombay to the Tata Institute. There was a crisis, I had to turn inward. So the crisis came again in life, and I withdrew from the work of my master, but because of my great love for my master, there was no necessity for me to fight with him. That would have been too silly, but this was an inner crisis I was having, so I had to get a new direction in life. So the old self had to die. So the old self died once again, and then the divine gave me a new seed, and this time it was astrology. The seed was given by the divine. It was not my quest. Like it gave the doctoral thesis, now it gave the prasada, or the divine grace, the shower of blessings of learning Vedic astrology and illumination through Vedic astrology. So Vedic astrology began a new chapter in my life, and a new worldview developed for me. And I learned Vedic astrology through a very famous Jyotish guru in India called Professor Vinod Kumar Chowdhury. I learned his research-based system of astrology called the systems approach, and then I worked with the systems approach and developed my own insights, because I basically came to astrology not from the world, but I came from dharma, from the spiritual life. So my whole entry into Vedic astrology had a different kind of outlook already when I entered. So I was looking for different things from Vedic astrology. I was not having the usual mundane questions, when will my problem get over. Those questions never existed for me. I wanted to understand my destiny, and then I found that the whole of Vedic astrology is about the divine will in your life. So I realized that it was a new insight for me, and starting with the divine will in my own life, and then I began to teach this Vedic astrology to the world. This was a very long period of introspection and working by myself from my home. So I turned inward, and I was, as we say in Sanskrit, antarmukha, that is inward drawn, for about 12 years. So I took a break from my guru's work, did not do my guru's work. I told my guru that I want to just step out of it, and I want time for myself. And after 12 years, suddenly a new seed was given, Atma Jnana, which is self-knowing and self-realization. And then at the age of 62 or 63, I got the inspiration to teach this to the world. That is the synthesis of Vedic astrology as a new worldview, as a spiritual worldview, and self-knowing and self-realization. Because in the previous chapter, for 12 years, I was just contemplating, being by myself. So even in the Christian tradition, there is this whole phenomenon of withdrawal from the world and then return to the world. So I withdrew from the world, I withdrew from my master's work to have more clarity, and then after 12 years, a new chapter begins where I want to come back to the world, and I'm not going to repeat what my master's movement is teaching the world. I found the new light, I found the clarity myself by standing alone, and by putting aside everything which was in conflict with the self. So there was a new beginning, a dying and a rebirth once again, and then so when I was 62, 63, this happened, so that represents a new chapter in my life.
This is so rich, so interesting. We'll have a small break and we'll return in a few minutes. Stay with us. Portuguese.
Oh.
I have to switch off. Switch off. Fique com a gente já vai retornar. Estamos tendo uma conversa interessantíssima sobre a astrologia védica e o quanto isso significa na vida e no mundo. Podemos?
Podemos.
Estamos aqui continuando uma conversa fantástica com Sri Shankara, Dr. Shankara. And Dr. Shankara, you were telling us about Vedic astrology. Usually we in the West are more interested in knowing about relationships or about job opportunities and things like that, and we do our maps in astrology, in the Western astrology. So how does the Vedic astrology differs from that in the West? And I was very interested, particularly at one point of your lines, that you said that Vedic astrology was a very good instrument to know the duty of your own life, your mission in life.
Yes.
How can a Westerner reach that? How can we reach your teachings in Vedic astrology?
Okay. Actually, I am not competent to comment on Western astrology because I have not studied and researched into Western astrology like I have studied and researched into Vedic astrology. But I know that Vedic astrology has got two very powerful fruits, and one is predictive capability. Vedic astrology can make predictions as to what lies ahead of you in your life, and then the other fruit is remedial measures. So this means that even if your destiny has got afflictions or misfortunes on the cards of fate, it will be possible by using thought, word and deed. Thought and word means mantric power. Mantra is something which is actually like a capsule of thought and feeling, and when you utter that mantra or the thought and feeling with certain intention, then the thought and feeling which are very powerful like a pencil of laser light, they can go and do work in the world, including the work of repairing and changing your destiny. But the magnitude of repair and the magnitude of change is not to the same extent for all individuals. If an individual already has a very blessed horoscope, and because the horoscope is the mood of God at the time and place of birth, then he will have greater capability to use thought, word and deed to repair his destiny and to improve his destiny. So I call this the second line of grace, and the horoscope already giving you the first line of grace. So, but for people whose charts are full of afflictions and difficult, then the repair cannot be so effective, or the result of the repair cannot be so effective. So you have amazing variety of horoscopes and variety of people and variety of destinies. Some destinies can be repaired and some destinies cannot be repaired. So we have to actually look at each chart individually to see if the chart can be repaired or the chart cannot be repaired. And both in Santiago along with Ricardo G, and now in Brasilia again with him together, I have been offering consultations to Westerners, Brazilians and Chileans, and last year to many people in Mexico and in Uruguay also. I find that Westerners are very sharp intellectually, they ask very good questions, and they are on a learning curve. But the question for me is whether they will become diligent enough to actually undertake the remedial measures and to do the remedial measures in order to improve their destiny, because then destiny really improves and you understand the destiny for the first time. You got to understand it, then repair it, then improve it. All this has to be done. And I place the utmost emphasis on creating an intellectual conviction, because an intellectual conviction is such an integral part in the Hindu teaching on the path of understanding, because without an intellectual conviction, nobody entering into the path and doing an effort will be serious and will be diligent and will be dedicated. When there is no intellectual conviction, somebody will be on the path maybe for a month or 2 months, then they will abandon the effort, because doubt will come and plague them, and the doubt will put an end to the effort. So it's very, very important to understand things very clearly, so that all doubts are dispelled and there is full clarity, and then you start doing the remedial measures. Then you will not stop because of loss of confidence or loss of clarity or because of doubts. So I place a great deal of emphasis on the creation of this intellectual conviction, and which gives the utmost clarity, and then people start understanding their life. For example, yesterday I was talking to a very intelligent Brazilian, Ricardo J and myself. We were talking, and he had the intellectual Gemini ascendant, so his mind was very sharp, so he could understand everything that we are saying. And I said something to him coming from the chart as part of his destiny, and if he took to it, then he will have a very big breakthrough, because it was a new kind of clarity, and he had a certain problem in life, but if he takes what I am saying seriously and contemplates on it, then he will have a breakthrough. So this is how this Vedic astrology will give more clarity to the understanding of the divine will in your life, and in helping you to know that this destiny can actually be repaired.
This is very interesting, because here in the West, we used to think about karma in an immutable way, in a way it does not change. But karma means action and its results. So we can act upon actions that we have done previously.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. You can change your karma by starting a new karmic cycle, which is auspicious, and the old karmic cycle could have been a sinful one, or could have been inauspicious with a lot of negative energy, and to counter it, you can start a new cycle by pressing thought, word and deed into service. You got to press thought, word and deed as mantric energy, and once you start doing it, a deed is through charity, and charity
it's
always
karma yoga.
With an intention, and then you will start seeing the results. And I think there is great hope in the West if people come on the path of understanding and start doing the remedial measures. Then they will have more clarity, and they will not be confused why their life is what it is.
This is very interesting, because here we can see the scientist and the religious person coming together when you say that intellectual confidence is very, very important. I think that too, because doubt can arise at any time, and only through knowledge can we respond to doubt, although there is faith too.
Exactly.
And just for us to end, as you are a nuclear scientist and a physicist, there is a very important concept in the Vedic studies, which is Atma.
Yes.
And how does Atma goes along with the quarks and the quantic theory within a nuclear scientist?
Science has been, because it's based on human effort and human understanding, it's been on a continuous path of evolution, and it's a result of man's study of nature through his senses, through what the eyes see and what the ears hear. So by observing nature very closely through the electron microscope and through the telescope, man is making various theories that nature ought to work like this, that the natural law for electrons has to be a Dirac equation, or it has to be a quantum field theory. So he's making theories, and he's ever looking for a kind of self-consistency in his thinking, so that there is no self contradiction in his whole thought structure of the electron, or of his understanding of cosmology and astronomy, the galaxies, and he is on this path. And in the whole process, till quantum mechanics took birth, we completely forgot that the observer is central to his observations, and only with the